Welcome to the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast, where our goal is to help you increase your reputation as a leader, increase your ability to influence others, and increase your ability to fully engage your team to deliver remarkable results. Hi, I'm Perry Holly, a Maxwell Leadership Facilitator and Coach.
And I'm Chris Godey, Executive Vice President, Maxwell Leadership. Welcome and thank you for joining. We are grateful that you are listening to this podcast. We want to encourage you to share this with your team, to use this, to take notes, to dive in, and really work on how do I apply the content of which we're sharing to your leadership life. And so with that, if you'll visit maxwellleadership.com/podcast, Perry has the show notes for today's lesson, and obviously it's part 2, so part 1 is on there as well. And if you missed last week's episode, I would encourage you to go back and listen to that. Also, if you have a question or a comment, we love this. Perry really loves this because he takes what we're hearing and then builds a leadership lesson around it. We would love to be able to answer those questions. So if you'll go on there, you can fill out a form, you can leave your question, your thought, you can contact us or download the notes for today. Today's topic is how to become a person of influence, part 2. Influence is the centerpiece of everything that we do here at Maxwell Leadership. And Barry really went back to a book. I remember this book. It was some time ago, brown and black cover. Yeah. Jim Dornan's name's on there, How to Become a Person of Influence. And so John wrote that book really about, how do you define it? How do you increase your influence? And so in part 1 last week, Perry broke down the first 4 letters of influence. We're going to kind of do an acrostic with the word. And I stood for integrity. What does that look like? N stood for nurturing. How do you go about doing that to increase your influence? F is faith, the faith and belief in your people. And then L stood for listening. And we thought we would just end it with listening. Well, never mind. We're not going to go there. It doesn't get any harder than that for us. So we thought, let us go work on that for a week. So just as a reminder, go back, listen to that, take some notes, and then it can blend into what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, let's jump right in. The U, the next letter in the word influence, stands for understanding. And it's really about, are you able to see things from other people's point of view? The key for me here, and I find that people that have a lot of influence with me are others-oriented. They're not self-oriented. It's not mainly about them. It's about others. We're tempted so much as leaders to focus on maybe not ourselves, but on our business, on what we're trying to accomplish, what I've got most important to me. And it leads to a feeling that others may get of your self-centeredness. But when you see things from other people's point of view, you can create, you mentioned this last week, you create more empathy and compassion. And I think it's a great way to increase influence with others, to let them know that you definitely have a point of view, but you're open to understanding where they're coming from. You're understanding what they're going through.
I love this, and I'm going to give you just a couple thoughts, and then I'm going to put it back to you as we transition to the next letter. Talk about a content piece that you've developed recently that I think helps with this in some of the organizations and teams that we've been working with. It is tough and something we need to develop as leaders and as people to see others and the point of view of where they're coming from and not to take it personally. And the only way to truly understand is to get in there and to truly understand that and to understand how current circumstances and situations, either personally or professionally, are affecting them or the team. And as you do this, I would encourage you to have communication and conversations more than maybe you're comfortable with. You have to check in frequently to truly understand. And leaders, this is one thing that I would challenge you to do. Don't allow your team to just give you the fluff answers. We all give fluff. Hey, how you doing? Oh, man, I'm doing great. It's good to see you. All right. We all know that like my wife says, you got crazy, I got crazy. You don't want my crazy, I don't want your crazy. So we all got some stuff going on. And I know that I just recently, in the last couple of weeks, had a team member. I was like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? I'm doing good. But I could just tell. And so there was something there that either I wasn't understanding, and maybe they don't want to share, and that's fine, but I couldn't let it rest. I at least wanted to go back one more time. I wanted to check in frequently with my team. I also want to be very aware of the obstacles and challenges that my team may be facing. One of the things that I say, and if you're a sales leader, this is something back in the early on in the sales leadership. I said, no. My job is, yes, I'm going to sell periodically, but my job is to remove obstacles and to get stuff out of your way, challenges that you're dealing with, so that you can continue to sell. You can continue to connect with your people. You can feel your team's energy and your attitude, and just be aware of that. I was talking to my son just yesterday, and I sent him a text. They're going through some things as a team, and I said, hey, buddy, listen, there's a lot of stuff going on in your brain right now. Things coming up in the next 3 months and the 6 months, but you've got to be present and aware of the situation around you with your teammates. And in a situation like that, allows you to understand where they're at. Now, I say all that to say, one of the greatest pieces I know that, well, I speak for myself, that you've developed for us lately and other people is this inclusive leadership. And going through that, you develop that and all kinds of threads in that content piece about truly understanding people. Talk a little bit about that before you move on to E, just the connection there with understanding people and the power of inclusively leading people and how that connects.
Yeah, I never met a leader, not one, who purposely wanted to exclude or make anybody feel unsafe or unwelcome,
Right,
or like they don't belong. But we do, or it wouldn't be a thing. We wouldn't have to talk about it. And so what I've learned, and it came mainly from me, was most of us can be very focused on what we're doing, and we don't mean to exclude others, but for me to really slow down a minute. And John talks about this. Sometimes you have to slow down and walk among the team, walk among the people. That I need to really understand where you are. I need to understand how you are. I need to understand what you're struggling with. Your comment about obstacles. I had people on my team that were not producing and I couldn't figure out why, but I was so busy and out in front. They didn't understand what the expectation was. They couldn't do it, but they didn't know how to ask, and I didn't care enough to look into it. Finally, and it came to a head a little unprofessionally, I would say. But then I realized if I had just taken the time to understand more where you're coming from and think outside of my own troubles and challenges where I am. Your comments to your son, it's so tempting where he is right now to be thinking about how it's affecting him. But this is one thing you teach really well, and I know your family, so you do this really well, is yes, it's hurting us, but I'm going to worry about others.
Yeah.
And so that others orientation opens the door for inclusivity to say,
That's good.
even though I've got something going on, you're important, and I'm going to show you're important by making you a priority.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the time to ask the questions, to be curious, to understand where you are. And maybe there is an obstacle I can remove. Maybe there is a barrier. Maybe I just need to enter into that conversation with empathy and
That's so
compassion to
good.
you, just so we can sit in it together.
Yeah.
But that tells people something too.
Yeah.
That you're for me, and you're not for yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't. For me, that was a big picture.
Before you go on, let me just stop for just a second. If what you just heard, leaders, you go, man, I need that in my culture. I need that in my team. That is straight out of Perry's heart and why he developed inclusive leadership. And it's a course that we have for teams. I want you to right now go to maxwellleadership.com/podcast and fill out a form and say, I want Perry to come and talk to my team about inclusive leadership. And we will do it because it's a powerful content piece to help you at the root of understanding your people. So
If it could be at a beach location,
right now, listen, we're not going to get specific. If it's North Dakota, we'll send Rick Vandermeiden, somebody else like that. But
gotcha. I will go anywhere.
yes, that's right.
Moving on, the E in influence stands for enlarging, and that means that I help others become bigger. Up until now, Chris, you said, integrity, got it. Nurturing, I can do it. Faith, I have it. Listening, I'm trying it. Understanding,
good.
I'll do it. Man, enlarging, what does that mean? Is that I help people find and fulfill their true potential. And I'm helping them grow and develop and then become more. I know what their career aspirations are. I might even know what their family aspirations are, their goals, their dreams. I'm helping to navigate the corporate structures. I'm looking for ways to make you more. And I think this is one that many leaders have great intentions on, but it just takes a backseat sometimes.
Yeah, I love this. And the way to do this is you have to provide feedback to them. I know some of you just took a big old deep breath and you're like, I don't like to give feedback. And this is both positive and constructive feedback. Think back on all the lessons that you and I have learned in our careers and growing up. It came from things that people spoke up to and said, hey, I see this in you, but you could have done this a little bit differently. You should have done this right here. Or next time I want to see the report like this, or whatever it might be. And so here's what I want to challenge you with, leaders. As you think about how do I go about enlarging others? First of all, it starts with yourself. You have to enlarge yourself. You are responsible for yourself. And so what are you learning? What are you growing? Don't try to keep up with Perry and how many books he's reading or listening to. But what you do is then you share what's relevant to where they're at in their professional, personal life with what you're learning. Hey, I heard this nugget the other day, and I just wanted to pass this along to you. I was reading this book, and I saw that. Like, you're going to give them a thought that's going to enlarge them. You're going to enlarge their scope of potentially going through personal growth, which I think is hugely important. So make sure you're growing yourself, because you can't give what you don't have. The other thing is that I want to encourage you to think about, what is it that I'm currently doing as a leader, not to delegate, but to enlarge their responsibility in the organization, enlarge their influence, what we're talking about, enlarge their footprint, enlarge their exposure. All of that, remember, is increasing influence. And when you do that, there'll be an opportunity for you to kind of coach them along the way. We use this principle called the 10-80-10 principle. We learned it from John, which is John will come in and he'll say, hey, we have an idea, a thought, an opportunity for the organization or to add value to people, and here's the initial 10%. I want you guys to go run and develop the other 80% of what this could look like and the impact it could have, and then allow us to come back and let him speak into that last 10%. I've done that so many times with him over the years that 80% that he gives us the opportunity to go out and to build and to create and to build up off of his platform, man, that enlarges us. Now, that back 10%, by the way, it's come with some feedback, some positive and some constructive. Yeah. But that is also part of the enlarging others. So just a few ideas around ways for you to practically enlarge your team members.
That's good. The N, second N we have, this one stands for navigate. Are you assisting others through difficulties? And, everybody struggles from time to time, either personally, professionally. There's a chance for you as a leader. The key here is that you need to know what they're going through. And so if you're not staying close enough to people to understand what's happening, you won't be able to help them navigate the tough times that they face. I know, again, this is something you do really well. You're actually you're recently staying pretty close to some issues I'm going through with my family, and I noticed that there's not a lot you can do about it. Actually, there's nothing you can do about it, but you have helped me navigate it by simply asking about it, by empathizing, not sympathizing. Sympathizing says, I'm so sorry you're going through that. Empathizing says you join me in it, and you allow me to express that. You offer your own insights and your own experience. Even I had a chance to sit with you and your wife last weekend at the national championship. Did we mention that national championship?
Yeah. We were in rainy San Diego, Southern California. Yeah.
But even insights were shared there that were very helpful to me. So, asking if there's anything that I need. There's ways we do this as leaders that just say that I'm going to help you navigate whatever the difficulties you're going through.
Hey, podcast listeners. Many of you listening right now would probably love the autonomy that comes with owning your own business or becoming a coach that helps other businesses succeed. Well, we have a phenomenal strategy where you are 100% in control of your own business, earning income on your own terms, and have access to the people, tools, and resources you need to build a thriving leadership development business. When you become a Maxwell Leadership Certified team member, you join a global community of entrepreneurs led by our expert team of mentors and faculty, including John C. Maxwell. You'll also get one of the top leadership certifications in the world next to your name, giving you the boost you need to get started. Visit us online at maxwellleadership.com/join the team to find out more information.
I think John, in the 21 laws, the law of navigation, I think as leaders, we all have an incredible mindset and idea and strategy of navigating kind of where we want our department to go, our team, our business. What we're talking about here is, yes, that, but also really we're talking about influence with people. And it does start with knowing, right? So how could we have a conversation last week where my wife, who happens to be knowledgeable in certain areas, and we're dealing with some things in our family that could say, hey, this is what we've learned. The only way we could have ever had that conversation and navigate some things that may have helped you or you could help us is that the fact that we know that about each other. And so it does start absolutely with the knowing. The other thing is, leaders, you don't need to have all the answers. Sometimes it's okay to just sit in it with people. Mm-hmm. And as you sit in it, as you made a statement to be with, then something's going to come up and say, hey, what about this? Maybe you could make a right turn here. I know I did this one time. And whereas from the beginning, you look at it from the outside and you go, man, there's no way that I could help or navigate or give any type of influence or input there. But don't give up on it. Just go in and kind of sit with them, and you don't have to have all of the answers. The other thing is that oftentimes when you become a sounding board, or when people want you to jump in with them and help them navigate something, either way, whether it's a physical or it's an emotional trait of this navigation, it's so important for you to truly kind of know what's going on. And so as you think about helping people navigate, it starts with knowing. And to your point, the only way to really know is to begin to think about some of these others that we talked about, with asking questions and being empathetic and whatnot. But definitely make sure to increase your influence, that you help those that are in your inner circle navigate certain things in their life.
Well, actually, it's one of these 9 things. It's one of you can kind of test, do I have any influence?
Yeah.
You can say, how am I doing? Is that people aren't looking for me to navigate or help. They don't look to me to help them navigate. Then maybe you don't have any influence.
Right.
And so you go back to the others. The C stands for connecting. This is where you initiate positive relationships. And the key word here is initiate. That if you hope to have influence with others, you really can't sit around waiting for them to come to you. You initiate the connection with them. Connection to me is about finding common ground. Mm-hmm. It's about taking the time to connect and learn about people, what they value, what motivates them. If I know what you value and I know what motivates you, I can add value to your life by meeting you where you are. And this takes me to initiate, though. But this whole idea about connecting is a huge piece of level 2 in the 5 levels. But give me your thoughts on connecting.
Yeah, another 21 laws that John created, the law of connection. I love that you tied it to level 2, because we often talk about level 2 being about relationships. It's really even a little bit deeper than that. It's about connections. And when you connect with people, it looks all kinds of different ways, right? Like, it doesn't just have to be, hey, how was your weekend? Adversity connects. We talk about this. Going through things together as a team, as an individual, as a family is going to connect you. Bringing people in just to go through a project, maybe just to sit in on a meeting, not say a word, not have any input, and then afterwards say, hey, what'd you think about that meeting? Is there anything you learned? Anything I should share with the team that you weren't aware of? Like, things like that. When you begin to create, take them with you on some lunch meetings you may have. Let them sit in on a call. There are all kinds of ways to do that. When you do that, you absolutely are touching that leader in their heart first, right? Because you're including them, you're connecting with them before you're even asking for anything for them to do for the organization. We talk about discretionary effort a lot. That's a phrase we use around here at level 2. When you understand the power of connecting with people, and truly knowing them and caring for them, that you're not trying to manipulate them, you're not trying to just get them to give you an answer or do a project because it benefits you, but because it benefits the collective. There's all kinds of ways to do that. So open your mind as you think about, how can I increase my influence by connecting with people? We just gave you a couple of ways to be able to do that.
Good, really good. Finally, the last letter is E, and it stands for empowering. And it really is about giving power to those you lead. I'll just go back to the 21 laws again, John. I love the way he phrased the law of empowerment. Says that secure leaders give power to others. And a question I ask in coaching a lot is, do you want to see things work without you, or do you want to see things work because of you? And, an insecure leader will have trouble letting go of their power and doing things necessary to see it work without them. But a secure leader wants others to lead, to be empowered, to be able to make decisions, to run the business, and that the leader, they don't have to be present for the success of what's happening around there. So I love this empowerment. How do you see that one?
Yeah, I will. I'll tackle this and then throw it back to you, and I'll wrap us up, and you can close out on the podcast. But as I think about this, man, we talk about the 5 levels of leadership early on. This is a perfect fit for level 4. We talk about the fact that we want to influence people by developing them personally and professionally. And when you empower people, man, so many leaders get this confused or do it the wrong way or don't even know how to do it, right? Like they walk in and they go, "Hey, Chris, man, go run the sales team today.
You're empowered."
And then 2 weeks later, "Chris, we're giving you your separation notice as the sales leader," right? Because they come in and they just delegate it. They don't develop or empower.
Actually, they dump it. They don't delegate.
There you go. I love that. They love that where they just kind of dump it on you. And so you need to go about it a little bit differently. You got to have a process in place. We talk about it as kind of modeling, equipping, and developing. As a leader, are you modeling it first? And what does that look like? Because that's contagious. Are you equipping them? Are you resourcing them? When you do that, you're empowering them? Are you developing them? Are you speaking into what it looks like the first 10% and then maybe check-ins along the way so that people go, "Man, I feel empowered to do this and to lead this project or this assignment or whatever it might be." And by doing that, you will increase your influence, and what we call will be at level 4 influence. And I love your statement. You said, is it happening? Would you prefer to see it happen without you or because of you? Like that's I challenge leaders to write that statement down and then really think about where you are at in regards to that statement. Well, as we wrap up, I said this the last session in our podcast, and I'll say it again. Man, make sure your motive is pure in regards to why you are trying to increase your influence. Everyone, as we talk about at Maxwell Leadership, everyone deserves to be led well. And in order for you to have powerful, positive change with people and with teams and your family and your organization, you got to have the right motive around influence. And so as we wrap up, the last 5 that we talked about today that you laid out for us was the U stood for understanding. Make sure we understand other people. See it from their point of view. Lead inclusively. The E was for enlarging. How do we help others become bigger than they already are? N was for navigating. How do you help and assist others through some of their difficulties? C, how do you connect with people? How do you initiate that connection to increase your positive relationship with them? And then finally, E was for empowering. And how do we do that the proper way? Not just, as you said, dump it on them. How do we empower them to lead? And when you do that, your influence will increase.
It's a great opportunity for you to increase your influence, but also you should be teaching this to the people on your team. Everyone's a leader because leadership is influence. They don't have to have a title to be a leader. They're leading where they are. If they're not, then they're probably stuck in the old paradigm of leadership as a title. Everybody can lead from wherever they are in the organization, but these 9 things I think will help not only you, but it's something you could be teaching. As Chris said, do a week by week, go through how are we developing our influence in these areas. If you would like to know more about our offerings that Chris mentioned, or if you'd like to leave a question or a comment for us, you can do all that at maxwellleadership.com/podcast. We love hearing from you, and we're always grateful you would spend this time with us. That's all today from the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast.